everyone, Hussam is here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to enable internet inbound access to a virtual machine running on Azure VMware Solution. That's through a new capability called Public IP on NSXT Edge. We are going to use a DNAT rule to enable that access. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you how to secure that access using a firewall on NSXT. So let's get started. I have a Photon VM running on AVS SDDC, and I have started Docker service and deployed an Nginx container. I've tested it locally using curl. I'm going to access the main Nginx page from AVS Jambox now. There you go. Now the goal is to be able to access this page from anywhere using a public address. For that, we'll leverage the capability of creating public IP address on AVS NSX-T Edge. To do so, let's go to the AVS plate in the Azure portal. Under Workload Networking, click on Internet Connectivity. We'll change the selection here from Connect using SNAT to Connect using Public IP down to the NSXT Edge. This will allow us to configure Azure Public IPs for outbound or inbound internet access and other purposes. Keep in mind that with this, I lost any outbound connectivity I had through SNAT managed service. But no worries, we should be able to create a SNAT rule within NSXT to allow outbound internet access again. Before we click Save, we'll need to create at least one address space. So we'll click on Add and create one and give it the name Photon VM Nginx Test. Select an address space with one IP address and then click Configure. Check the checkbox down here, then click Save. Now the feature is being enabled and a public IP address will be created and provisioned on my AVS SDDC. The Microsoft allocated public IP was successfully provisioned. If you look closely, you'll notice it's a /32, meaning it's a single IP address. And that's based on my earlier decision. Our next step is to configure Destination NAT rule at NSXT to allow inbound access from internet to the VM running inside AVS. To do that, we'll need to go to the NSXT portal from the AVS Jambox. Log in and go to Networking tab. Then under Network Services, click on NAT. Select the Tier 1 gateway and click on Add NAT rule. We will need to configure 5 settings. Let's start with setting up the name. Next will be the action field. In this case, it's going to be a DNAT rule. Third will be the destination field. This is the public IP address that we have created under AVS. So we go back to the AVS plate and copy the public IP address value from here. Next is the translated IP address. This is the private IP address of the VM running on AVS. So we need to get that from vCenter. We'll paste the value here. And the last thing that we'll need to configure, this is optional, but we will need this if we decide to configure gateway firewall, which you'll see in the next step. So we'll change the firewall to match external address. and then click Save. Now we have successfully created a DNAT rule. This will be sufficient to expose the VM on AVS to the inbound traffic coming from internet. To test that the DNAT rule is working, I'll open a new tab in my browser. I'll use the public IP address that we used in the DNAT rule to test if I'm able to access the Nginx page. Voila! As you can see, it's working. I am able to access the Nginx page hosted on a VM running inside AVS. This DNAT rule makes the VM widely open to any traffic coming from the internet. So we need a mechanism to harden the security posture and reduce the attack surface of that VM. To do so, we can leverage the NSXT gateway firewall. So we begin by clicking on Security. Under North-South Security, click on Gateway Firewall. And let's make sure we select the Tier 1 gateway. And from here we can add a new policy. Click on Add Policy. Let's name it Nginx Policy. Under this policy we need to create two rules. The first one is actually deny everything reaching public IP of the VM. So the destination here will be the IP. Apply, and the action will be drop. Now let's create the other rule. Click Add Rule. And this rule actually is to allow the traffic to hit the VM only from my on-premises IP. So the source here will be my on-premises IP. And click Apply. And destination will be the public IP that's assigned for that VM. There you go. And the action is allow. To make sure the policies are taking effect, we need to click on Publish. Now, our policy has been successfully created. We can test by reaching out to the public IP one time from on-premises, which is my laptop in this case, and you can see it's working. And another time from the jump box, which is not part of my on-premises. You can notice that I wasn't able to reach out to the page from my jump box. That means the firewall policy that we have created is taking effect. And with that, we have successfully enabled inbound access for a VM running inside Azure VMware Solution using public IP address on an NSXT Edge, configured a DNAT rule, and protected the traffic using gateway firewall. Thank you.